Hello, everyone. I want to say how honored I am to be receiving this award and how sad that I can't be with you in person. In accepting this award, I first want to pay tribute to my mother, because it was her support that I received as a child that definitely helped me to achieve my goals. I was born loving animals. I spent as much time as I could watching the little creatures in our garden. No television back then. My mother supported this love. She found books about animals from the library. I grew up during World War II. We had very little money. Everything was rationed. And so I learned to take nothing for granted. I valued every bit of food, warmth, clothing, and life itself. When I was 10, I told everyone, after reading about Tarzan, that I would go to Africa, live with wild animals, and write books about them. They all laughed. How could I do that? We had little money, it would be dangerous, and I was just a girl. But my mother said, if you work really hard and take advantage of every opportunity, and if you don't give up, hopefully you'll find a way. I did well at school, but we had no money for university, so I got a boring job, and then came opportunity. A school friend invited me for a holiday in Kenya. To get money for the fare, by boat in those days, I got a job as a waitress. Very hard work, and it took about 5 months. I arrived, and after a while I met the famous paleontologist, Dr. Louis Leakey. And it was he who made my dream become reality when he offered me the opportunity to study chimpanzees in the wild in what is now Tanzania's Gombe National Park. It was hard for him to get the money for such a venture, for a young girl straight from England with no degree, doing something no one had done. Well, he succeeded in getting a 6-month grant. But then the authorities refused to take responsibility for such a crazy idea, going into a forest with buffalo and leopards and chimpanzees who were 8 times as strong as a human. But Louis persisted, and eventually they agreed that if I took somebody with me, I could go. Who volunteered to come? My same amazing mother. It was just us and an African cook, one second-hand ex-army tent for us, a tiny one for him. People said I was brave, but it was Mum who was brave. I was out in the forest each day living my dream. She was left in camp, visited by marauding baboons trying to get our food, buffaloes sometimes coming close, and of course snakes and spiders and scorpions and so on. Gradually, I began to unlock the secrets of the world of the chimpanzees, and eventually, thanks to Leakey's insistence, after a year with the chimps, I went to Cambridge and got a PhD in animal behavior. Back in Gombe, I spent hours in the forest, learning about the interconnection of all animal and plant species, each one with a part to play in the complex ecosystem. I could have stayed forever. But when I learned in 1986 at a conference how chimpanzees were becoming increasingly endangered and forests were disappearing, I knew I had to try to do something to help. I visited those places where by then others were studying chimpanzees because I wanted to learn more about their plight, and I did. The destruction of the habitat, the illegal bushmeat trade, and the shooting of mothers so that their infants could be stolen for sale into the illegal wildlife trafficking for pets or for training for entertainment. But at the same time, I was learning about the plight of Africans living in and around chimpanzee habitat. The poverty, the lack of health and education facilities, degradation of the land due to human population growth, and the numbers of livestock. When I arrived at Gombe in 1960, it was part of the Great Equatorial Forest Belt. But when I flew over in the late 1980s, I was horrified to see a tiny island of forest surrounded by bare hills. There were more people than the land could support, too poor to buy food elsewhere, struggling to survive. That's when it hit me. If we don't help the people find ways of making a living without destroying their environment, we couldn't save chimps, forests, or anything else. So the Jane Goodall Institute started our holistic Takari program, which, in addition to protecting and restoring the forests, provided scholarships to give girls a chance at secondary education, microfinance programs so that women could start their own environmentally friendly small businesses, and we provided family planning information. This program is now in 104 villages throughout Chimp Range in Tanzania and in 6 other African countries. The people understand that saving the environment is not just for wildlife, but also their own future, and they become our partners in conservation. As I began traveling around the world seeking to raise awareness and funds, I was learning about all the other harm we're inflicting on the environment. And I was meeting young people who were losing hope as they learned about the environmental and social problems that we've created. And that's when I started Roots and Shoots, the Jane Goodall Institute program for young people from kindergarten through university. Each group chooses 3 projects to help people, to help animals, to help the environment, and they're empowered to take action. Roots and Shoots is now in 66 countries and growing. These young people are my main reason for hope as we work to slow down climate change and the loss of biodiversity and fight pollution, poverty, human population growth, ignorance, discrimination, cruelty, conflicts, war, and so on. Another reason for hope is the amazing human intellect. We're finally working to find solutions to the problems we've created. We're beginning to think about our own environmental footprints. My third reason for hope is the resilience of nature. Places we've destroyed will be taken over by nature if given time. Animal species on the brink of extinction can be given a second chance. There are no more bare hills around Gombe. Finally, there's the indomitable human spirit, those tackling seemingly impossible tasks, not giving up, and often succeeding. And we must remember that every day, every one of us makes an impact on the world. Let us choose wisely. I want to end by honoring all the women around the world who are playing their part to make this a better world. Courageous women standing up against discrimination and fighting for justice, risking imprisonment and even death, as has just happened in Iran. Their stories would fill a library of books. Thank you.